are listening to the Alzheimer's Podcast with Mike Good of Togetherness, your number one resource for practical tips and insights, empowering you and your family to live well with Alzheimer's. Hello everybody, I'm Mike Good, founder of Togetherness, an online resource helping Alzheimer's and dementia caregivers succeed. Welcome to episode 22 of the Alzheimer's Podcast. As always, thank you for joining me today to listen to this podcast where my goal is always to empower you to maintain a positive experience, reduce and eliminate the need for medications, and make your time together with those you care for the best it can be. Today I have a very important topic that I feel isn't discussed enough, and I think you're going to find it incredibly valuable with strategies you can start implementing immediately. Our focus today is to discuss whether your home is contributing to undesirable behaviors and undermining your actions and possibly speeding up their decline. Basically, we want to create a dementia-friendly home where you can keep your loved one home longer, safer, and happier. So I look forward to exploring this topic with you. I know caring for someone with Alzheimer's or another dementia is one of the hardest things ever. So I'm never going to try to tell you that anything will be easy, because it definitely takes work, a lot of hard work. But if together we put strategies in place and make physical changes to your home environment, you can ease the strain, make things better for the entire family, and possibly slow the decline. Everyone involved in dementia care is at risk for mental and physical decline. The disease progresses, your health declines, and your relationships with your loved one and others is also at risk for decline. This includes the entire family. I say the family with Alzheimer's because it's not just the person with dementia, it affects everybody. Our goal is to turn the trials and struggles into more enriching and fulfilling times. You see, our behavior is typically a result of our environment, including the people around us. For people with dementia, whether it's Alzheimer's disease or another type of cognitive impairment, it's no different. However, the way their brains process and respond to sensory input is not always within their control. Couple this with the fact that our homes don't meet our needs, especially when we have age-related challenges. If you're over 40, then you've seen it firsthand. Maybe your eyesight is starting to fail you, you need stronger lighting in the room, you can't safely reach things on higher shelves, things just become more frustrating. And then when someone has unique challenges, whether it's dementia, a mobility issue, or something else, it magnifies the situation even more. It creates failure and frustration. This creates negative emotions, and oftentimes it results in negative behavior from everyone, not just someone with dementia. Your number one goal is to keep your loved ones safe, but as we try to keep them safe in our home, we tend to confine them and take away their independence. This restriction leads to boredom, anger, depression, and many other undesirable behaviors. In fact, I've seen several papers written that cite boredom as one of the primary causes of undesirable or negative dementia-related behaviors. Once the person with dementia is exhibiting an undesirable behavior or emotion, it generally takes a great amount of empathy and skill to alleviate the situation. So the ideal situation is to avoid the issue in the first place. But with over 80% of people with dementia cared for at home by untrained caregivers, it's just something that most people don't know how to do. We're not trained to be caregivers. Some people just don't have the nurturing gene, and some have never had children, so they don't know how to care for someone else. It takes a lot of work and support to learn how to help others, especially those who are declining due to dementia. As a result, instead of helping the person avoid or work through the behavior, oftentimes an all-or-nothing approach to care is implemented. You can't do that. You can't go there. You have to stop. And when we infringe on someone's will to do something or treat them in a condescending manner, it only escalates the issue. This also takes away their independence, confidence, and desire to engage, none of which is good for them or you. Again, I'm not saying any of this is easy. I know it's hard. We fail on a daily basis, but we pick ourselves up and we try to do better the next day. Other times, to avoid these behaviors and to compensate for the inability to work through the behavior, family members turn to antipsychotic medications. Now, as I discussed in episode 3 titled Understand, Manage, and Reduce Medications for Better Alzheimer's Care, antipsychotics are not supposed to be the first thing tried, and their use is supposed to be on a temporary basis, but often they're used for an extended amount of time without much thought. They are considered off-label, which means that although they are prescribed, they have not been approved for use in dementia care. There are also numerous side effects, a major one of which is sedation. So essentially, you and your loved one are now unable to enjoy this extremely valuable time together. And in 2005, the FDA issued a warning that people with dementia who are on antipsychotic medications face an increased risk of sudden death 1.6 to 1.7 times greater than those who are on a placebo. So we want to avoid the all-or-nothing approach and the inappropriate use of antipsychotics when possible. Again, check out episode 3 for more information on this topic. As alluded to earlier, if the undesirable and sometimes aggressive behavior can be avoided in the first place, that's what we want. We want to avoid these behaviors before they ever even happen, so we can have a loving, nurturing relationship with our loved one, so their well-being can be protected, so we can keep them engaged, and so we can slow the decline. I really think we are in control to some degree, not always, of course, the rate of decline and, of course, their happiness. If we do this, everyone will have a more pleasant interaction, medications can be minimized, and the well-being of your loved one maximized. This is not only for the person with dementia, but for the entire family. As mentioned, the environment is often what causes anyone's emotions or reactions to things. And people around you can annoy you or upset you. People with dementia are no different. The environment affects them in the same ways. They're just not able to communicate it or control their reactions to it the same way you or I can or should. When we lash out, we are usually forgiven, but the person with dementia is labeled as a bad egg, and after that label has been put on them, the care they receive will suffer because compassion and empathy are lacking. So how do we avoid the emotion or behavior to begin with? What do we do? Start by putting yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if someone was preventing you from doing something? How would you feel if you couldn't find something? Remember, they're likely frustrated when they can't find something or they can't do what they want to do. How many times have you lost something in the home and you're at your wit's end because you can't believe you've lost it? Just a couple of weeks ago, I lost something. It was just an old pair of sunglasses. I didn't even need to have them. But I spent 2 hours searching for no reason, and it created a huge amount of unnecessary frustration. I'm a little embarrassed to even share this with you. And I may have taken it out a little bit on my wife when she was getting on me to let it go. But it's acceptable for me, but not the person with dementia? No, that's just not right. In addition to having compassion for why they feel a certain way, you can start making improvements to the home to better meet their changing needs. Remove dangerous items so they're free to move about without risk of harm. Give them the opportunity to accomplish tasks with little or no assistance. When needed, silently assist them by helping them without pointing out what you're doing. And at no time do you ever point out a deficit they may be experiencing. Keep them involved and engaged. Avoid boredom. Be aware that typically, but not always, something in the environment has triggered the behavior. Again, are you preventing them from doing something? Are they frustrated because they can't find something? Did they see something outside that got their attention? Often when we see something, we get excited. We want to go investigate. We want to explore. We want fresh air. But what if we couldn't? Sometimes it's a picture of the family. Maybe they no longer recognize the people in the photo. The person with dementia oftentimes sees themselves at a younger age, maybe in their 20s. When they were in their 20s, pictures were likely in black and white. They dressed differently. Things just weren't modern like they are today. Now, when they see these colorful pictures on the table of themselves in their 60s or 70s, they see themselves as strangers, and they might feel like they're in someone else's home. So then they want to go home. This trigger can easily be removed and the undesirable behavior avoided. We don't want to remove the pictures in our home, but remember, sacrifices must be made and the environment modified. Another example of a trigger is when someone constantly wants to use the bathroom. Due to incontinence issues, one family placed a portable commode in eyesight so their loved one could quickly find it and hopefully avoid embarrassing accidents. They were doing the right thing to help maintain her dignity. However, this caused her to constantly want to use the commode because she was always seeing it. The simple fix was to move it a few feet away where it was no longer within her line of sight. But when she would get up to go use the restroom, she would find it quickly. If I'm remembering correctly, they had to try a couple of different solutions before they found what worked. So just remember, keep trying and stay creative. Some triggers, such as this example, can be easily remedied, while others will take considerable observation, analysis, creativity, and empathy. You have to really keep trying, but it's about identifying the trigger or triggers, and this is key to eliminating the cause of the behavior. That's not generally easy. Now, sometimes it can be easy. For instance, a new person comes in the room and instantly mom's agitated, so of course you'd pick up on that. Another example I remember reading about is when a gentleman would have guests over to visit with his wife, and they would always visit at the same time of day, and they would always sit in the same spot. And each time his wife would jump up and go over and smack one of the guests in the forehead. They thought it was an aggressive and hurtful behavior. But he started to be a dementia detective, and he kept a log. As a result, he finally determined that at this time of day, there was sunlight reflecting off the guest's forehead. So maybe, I don't know, she was trying to kill a bug or something. But he was able to remedy this and avoid the behavior on subsequent visits by moving the guest or closing the blinds. Many people would have labeled her as an aggressive and mean person and possibly turned to antipsychotics when it was actually a very easy fix. Whether you're helping care for a loved one at home or you're helping residents in a care home, becoming a dementia detective is a skill worth learning. Start by observing the individual's surroundings. I know as a care partner, it's hard to slow down and observe because you're in the throes of things, but you must. Pay attention to noises, sounds, air temperature, people, and the demeanor of those around them. This includes all caregivers, including yourself. If you're carrying a load of stress, that stress radiates. I know my wife and I do it to each other. We get stressed about something, and the next thing you know, I've got her stressed or she's got me stressed. These emotions are so contagious and carry over to other people. Note anything and everything that may be affecting them. Behaviors often repeat in dementia care, so keep a log of what you've observed. Logs are great, and journaling is a great outlet. Remember to note the time of day, what they were just doing, who they were with, what they just ingested, food, medication, liquids, etc. You'll start seeing trends and commonality. Compare your notes and look for patterns. Discuss the information with other care partners. You will hopefully key in on what in the environment is triggering the behavior. Also, if you're caring for someone who is not an immediate family member that you've known forever, it's very helpful to review the individual's profile to help you better understand their likes, dislikes, and history. And even if you are a family member, it's great to create one of these profiles to help others who may be caring for your loved one. See the show notes at togetherinthis.com/episode 22 for a profile you can download and start using today. This profile will often help provide clues to those who are new to interacting with your loved one. I remember when I volunteered at the Adult Day Center and a daughter brought her mom in for the first time. Her mom didn't want to be there. She wanted to leave, just like anyone else would. but the daughter had given me a one-page profile that included some history about her mom. This instantly empowered me to know that mom had been a school teacher. And with this little bit of knowledge, I was able to talk to her about something that was near and dear to her heart. And this reduced her agitation and the desire to get out. I'm not saying this totally eliminated her desire to leave, but it definitely made it a much more comfortable situation. So understanding a person's likes, dislikes, and life history, which includes a person's work history, is extremely valuable to eliminating triggers. I just remembered another story about a resident in a care home who was literally ripping the sinks off the wall. Turns out he used to be a construction worker, and demolition was one of his job duties. It was so important to understand his past so the care home could take advantage of his energy and his desire to help by giving him a role in the care home, giving him stuff to let him be a handyman, letting him take part in fixing and repairing things. One of the care homes near me has an ex-FBI employee as a resident, so they let him be the security guard. When I visit, he helps protect me, and we walk around and check the security of the community. Taking the time to understand how the environment is affecting the person with dementia is essential to creating what I call a dementia-friendly home, where triggers have been minimized and hopefully undesirable behaviors and emotions can be avoided. Or minimized when not totally avoided, because we can't avoid everything. It's just too complicated of a disease. But when you do, you will see fewer undesirable behaviors, everyone's well-being will benefit, and you will avoid a potential crisis. Well, that wraps up this episode, which was derived from my signature course, Adapting Your Home for Dementia. In this course and other trainings I have, I talk about 4 elements of the home to focus on. These include safety, function, stimulation, and the reduction of triggers. These 4 elements work together to create the dementia-friendly home where you can keep your loved one home longer, safer, and happier. If you want to learn more and get actionable tips that you can implement, be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss my upcoming episodes where I will dive into these 4 elements to teach you how to maintain that loving feeling by modifying your home and eliminating behavioral triggers. And if you want to learn more sooner, I'll provide links in the show notes at togetherinthis.com/episode 22 to my signature course as well as other resources I have created on this very important topic. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. You've been listening to the Alzheimer's Podcast with Mike Good of Togetherness. For more information and to get the resources mentioned in this episode, visit togetherinthis.com/podcast.